Okay, so now we're going to talk about writing the equation of a line just by looking at it on a graph, okay? And of course, we're talking about our infamous y equals mx plus b, okay? So whenever you see a line, okay, on a graph in algebra, right away, instantaneously, without even thinking about it, always write the slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Write it, okay? So I'm going to show you how easy it is to write the equation of a line. You're probably thinking an equation of a line. How do we write that equation of this line on this graph? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, but we do know the parts of this line, right? We do know that the y refers to the y-axis, the x refers to the x-axis, the m refers to the slope, if it's a positive or negative slope, and then the b refers to the y-intercept, where this line crosses over the y-axis. So what you're going to do, super easy, okay, 2 steps. All you have to do is write y equals mx plus b and then rewrite it with the empties, okay? So we have y equals blank x plus blank. That's how you set yourself up for success. And the first step is to just identify, where does this line cross over the y-axis? Okay, well, I can see here that it crosses over the y-axis at a -2. So I'm going to erase this and put -2. Look at that. We're halfway done. We're halfway done with this equation. All we had to do was step 1, okay, identify y-intercept, okay, and then step 2, here it is again, rise over run. We have to figure out what is the slope. So we already figured out what is the y-intercept, and we put it right there. Now from this point right here, we have to figure out the slope. What is the rise over run? Well, first of all, I have to find 2 points on the line. Here's one point here, and here's the other point here, and I have to ask myself, how did I get from this point to this point, right? So I had to go up 2 over 1. So that's going to be 2 over 1, and guess what, folks? You are done. This is the equation of that line. You're done. So now I'd like you to find the equation of this line using the same 2 steps, okay? So right away, you should automatically write y equals mx plus b, and then you should write it with the empties. Y equals blank x plus blank, and all you have to do is fill that in. So take a few minutes and write the equation of this line, and then I'll go over it with you. So now that you've had a few minutes to write the equation of that line, I'm going to go over it with you to make sure that you got it right. So step 1 is what? Identify the y-intercept, okay? Where does this line cross over the y-axis? Well, that's at a +2 right there, folks, okay? Right there, so I'm going to put 2. And guess what? We're already halfway done with the equation of this line. And then I have to say, I have to fill in the slope. That's part 2, and we're done. So how do I do the slope? First, I have to identify 2 points on the line. Okay, so then I have to ask myself, how did I get from this point to this point? Well, I noticed that this is a negative slope, right? So right away, I'm going to put my negative symbol right there. Put your negative symbol, okay? Because it's a negative slope, because I can see when I read this graph from left to right, this line is going in the downward direction. That's a negative slope. So how did I get from this point to this point? Well, I had to go down 2 and over 2. Down 2, over 2. So basically, I have written the equation of my line, and we're done. But this can also be simplified. Anything over itself is equal to 1. So it's actually -1x, okay? Y equals -1x plus 2, or usually it's the case that it's just -x, because even though it's not there, we know there's a 1 there. And that's how you write the equation of a line, by looking at it on a graph.